Milton Friedman is the most famous promoter of free markets in the 20th century. Milton's upbringing: he was born July 31st, 1912, in Brooklyn, New York. His parents were Jewish immigrants. Although brought up Jewish, when Friedman grew older, he rejected religion altogether and called himself an agnostic. Friedman attended Rutgers University and earned his bachelor's degree by age 20. He continued to get his master's degree at the University of Chicago in 1933, and from there went on even further for his Ph.D. from Columbia University in 1946. In 1951, the John Bates Clark Medal, honoring economists under 40 for their outstanding accomplishments. He was awarded that. He was also awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1976. And a fun fact, Friedman served as the advisor to President Nixon and was the president of the American Economic Association in 1967. Friedman wrote multiple books in his lifetime. Getting him established was Income for the Independent and Professional Practice in 1945. Described as his landmark work was his 1957 book, A Theory of Consumption Function. In his work, Capitalism and Freedom, Friedman wrote about his theory about free markets, and this arguably the most important economic book of the 1960s. Lastly, his piece, Free to Choose, was the best-selling nonfiction book in the 1980s, but his work doesn't stop there. There are many more. Friedman met his future wife, Rose Director, in a graduate economics class at the University of Chicago. Fun fact, their first date was in 1933 when they went to the World's Fair together. After 68 years, Friedman died on November 16, 2006, and only a short 3 years after, Rose died on August 31, 2009. Rose and Milton did start a family, with their very first child being stillborn. They had better luck with their second and third kids, David D. Friedman, also an economist, and Janet Friedman. They had 3 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. Friedman was all for relatively free markets and argued for a volunteer army. He was highly against drafting in the army. He also argued for free-floating exchange rates, the elimination of licensing doctors, because he felt that they were becoming rather monopolistic. He argued for a negative income tax and education checks. Friedman is highly associated with monetarism, which goes against Keynes's idea that the price level depends on the money supply. Friedman states that in the long run, increased monetary growth increases prices but has little to no effect on the output, and in the short run, increases money supply growth causes unemployment and the output to increase. Friedman's solution to the problems of inflation and short-run variations in unemployment and gross national product all depends on the money supply rule. For example, if the Federal Reserve Board was required to increase the money supply and at the same time increase the real gross national product at the same rate, then inflation would just disappear. The thing that swayed many economists, including some Keynesian, was the stagflation in the 1970s, the rising inflation combined with the rising unemployment rate. So, overall, Friedman thought the role of government should be more limited because he feels that they don't need to be involved in everything, and if they are involved, not much good comes from it, such as the monopolistic doctors charging higher prices because there's no competition, or drafting army soldiers. Friedman's opinion is that the government's role in the economy should be limited. The end.